Okay, I think maybe it is live on Facebook. Let's see. Did we get this to work today? I'm going to also record this just in case. Oh, it does say I'm live. Okay, good stuff. Okay, so I don't see anybody else trying to jump in right now, but we'll add people as they come in. I just wanted to start, and I know I posted about this stuff, but I've been so excited with all of the things you guys have been doing and all of the things you've been sharing and the level of participation. I truly feel like with tarot, the best way to develop is through this practice. And I love that we have this safe space to be able to do that with one another. And I love how supportive and loving you guys have all been to one another. And it just feels like a really safe space for you to be able to do that. So I'm excited about that. And feeling really grateful about that. I think that I'm live on Facebook as well. If you are watching live on Facebook, make sure if you want to join us, if you want to interact with us in the class, you are welcome to join through the Zoom link that I shared before. Just checking to see if we have anybody. Okay. All right. So how does this, is this sound okay, Kelly? Does it sound okay? Okay, perfect. So I wanted to just start by checking in. So we have you here. So tell me a little bit about how things are going for you on your path toward development. How are things feeling? Do you have any questions so far?
I think I'm feeling more confident. So that's good. I'm getting to know my cards more. Like after we went over all of the majors, well, most all of the majors last time, I've really been like starting to really understand them a lot more too, not just the intuitive side, but also the knowledge side. For me is important because I like that knowledge and I feel more confident when I have the knowledge.
Absolutely.
Too, along with the intuition. And then, yeah, I think for me, it's going great. I think you're also like, like you said, with everybody being so supportive and loving, and the vibe is wonderful and I love it. So that's been wonderful. So
yeah, you guys are great. So thank you so much to everybody in the group. Feel free to comment below, whether it's in the group or just to share your thoughts. Is there anything that you're needing at this point in your journey? Is there, any questions that have come up for you? You guys have been great about just sending questions my way, but like if anything comes up for you, if you need anything, feel free to post those in the group or send them my way. So what we're going to be doing is diving in. I agree with you, Kelly. I think that it's helpful to have both. Like I said, I think at the beginning, I learned how to read intuitively, but we also had a little bit of foundational knowledge worked into that, not at the level that we're learning it here. But I also was self-taught for a while in terms of learning about the cards and studying the cards and things like that. And I think that there's a lot, because if we don't have something being sparked within us, or we're feeling stuck intuitively, or we don't have that foundation underneath us of knowledge, sometimes you can feel kind of stuck with the cards. And I found that sometimes people just sort of shy away from going for it and reading and practicing, and that can be kind of the thing that shuts people down. So I find that having both is really helpful in terms of like building our skills, in terms of feeling comfortable with the cards, all of that. So we're going to dive back and we're going to focus on these major arcana, the rest of the cards. We have a few left, and then we're going to dive into wands. I did post the handouts this morning or yesterday maybe, so that you would have those in case you wanted to follow along with that. But we're going to be going through the cards. You don't need those necessarily to follow along with that. I just wanted to send it for those of you that like to have those while we're doing the having them as we're going along with class. So we're going to start. I believe that we left off with the star card. So in the star card, I think if I had to choose, between the high priestess and the star card are probably my favorites. I really like just the energy of the star card. I think so. This is my star card that I have right here. And to me, she's just such a goddess. I don't know, like she just shines. She's comfortable in her skin. She's confident. She's happy. She's peaceful. Like there's just such a power behind her. She's such a light in this world. And that's really what I see with the star energy. And that's really why I connect with it and like it so much. It really is like being a light here in this world, shining your light. And that is so much of the meaning of this card is shining your light, just thinking about being a star, right? Shining and feeling comfortable shining. And I always base this on the idea of when we can shine our own light, it can inspire other people. Other people can absorb some of that light, and it can inspire other people to connect with their light, and then they shine their light, and together we light up the world basically. And it's so that's part of why I love that card so much. But it's connected with, I connect it with happiness as well. Like this is just somebody who's very happy, who's shining bright, um, who is comfortable in regard to finances and things like that. We who is in balance. We have, similar to the Temperance card, we have her with one foot in the water and one foot on the ground, very typically in the star cards. And so she is really balanced, one foot in the water, one foot on the ground. That is symbolic for balance and giving, receiving, love being given, love being received. This can be inspiration, right? Like thinking about like a spark of light, a spark of inspiration. This can also be about like she's very often outside in nature, so this can be connected with really being sparked, really being lit up through spending time outside. This can be a recommendation to take some time to spend time in nature, those kinds of things. So when the star card is reversed, usually for me, this is about somebody's light feeling very dim, right? Somebody feeling disconnected from their light. And I always like to remind people that, your light never fully fades away. It always exists within you. And the way that I see it is as a spark of light right here in the heart. And when we focus on building upon that light, this is why I do an exercise where I have people focus on taking that light and filling the entire inside of the body and then expanding it outside of the body, because it's really about shining from the inside out, right? And so when we have the star card reversed, it's oftentimes connected with people not feeling that, or feeling very disconnected from their light, not feeling like they have faith in themselves, in the world, not feeling like they are hopeful, or that they have hope in themselves or their situation. They are feeling a lack of confidence, or that they're doubting themselves, and thinking that they aren't capable of doing something, or that they're not good enough, that they're discouraged, they can feel depressed. And this can also, because it's representative of balance when it's upright, it can represent an imbalance when it is reversed. For me, like this particular card is really, when I have this reversed, it usually is a bit more of a concern than some of the other cards, because to me this is like somebody who's very disconnected from their light, somebody who's very much struggling. So for me it is definitely a sign, like we need to take a little bit of time, the therapist in me, right? We need to take a little bit of time to focus on that. And obviously, like, you're going to have the kind of conversation with somebody that's within your realm of training, right? You're not going to go into therapy with somebody if you're not trained in that in some way or something, but just kind of acknowledging that and having a conversation about that, and just sort of exploring that within your training, within your capability. But like I said, oftentimes for me, that really shows me, oh, this person, for them, is in a pretty rough place. They're pretty disconnected from their light. So the next card that we have here, so we have the star, and then we have, oh, I don't have where's my moon card? Did we do the moon card or the star already?
No.
No, okay. But we did the moon, right? Because I feel like I remember talking about that.
No.
No, okay. I don't know. Where did my moon card? Where did my cards go? Let me see if I can find it in my deck.
I was going to ask you, actually, that's good. That brought a question.
Yeah.
What if, I don't know why or how, but what if you were to lose a card in a deck? Like,
oh, here's my moon card. You may, yeah, I would base that on your feeling of it, So if, for example, you felt particularly connected to a deck and that didn't feel like the right thing to do to release that deck, to stop using that deck, I just would use it without that card. But if you're using that and you're feeling like, oh geez, I'm just like operating without something that I need, then you are going to probably want to move on to another deck, develop a connection with that deck, and do that whole process over again. So it kind of depends.
okay.
Yeah. Did you lose one, or were you just thinking?
No, I was just thinking that, like I have a dog, a couple, puppy, and
yeah,
if something falls on the floor, it's in her mouth,
yeah,
so you never know, so,
yeah.
or cats, whatever.
Yep.
Kids, who knows?
Yep. My kids have
But
gone.
my husband,
Well, and you'll find that people will be drawn to your cards. So people will kind of want to put their hands on them or look at them. My kids have always been really interested in them. In fact, like the cards that come with toys, like they get like cards with like their Transformers and stuff like that. They call those tarot cards. Because that's their frame of reference.
That's so cute.
They have their own Transformer tarot deck. It's so cute. Yeah.
I love that.
Uh-huh. So they've always been interested in that. I let my kids look at them and explore those, but I also usually the only time that I outside of that let people use my cards, look at my cards, that kind of stuff, especially the deck that I'm working with here, is when I have them shuffle to do a reading.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like I'm not like passing around and stuff. And part of that is just my connection with the deck. And that just feels funny to me. So you guys might find yourselves like sometimes feeling protective of a deck or funny about that, or and sometimes you don't. Like I have some decks that I have no problem with people connecting with or using or whatever. It's really interesting. But yeah, so you might find yourself losing a card. I actually lost a card from this deck for a period of time and then it turned back up too. So sometimes that happens too. And it was, by the way, like a card that a message that I needed. So Spirit has all kinds of ways that they will put these cards on our path. I think somebody was mentioning in the group that they had a card jump out of the deck, and I don't remember if I've talked about that. If a card jumps out of the deck, take that as an additional card, but that is absolutely a message for you, probably more important than any other message that you're going to get from the deck. So for example, if you're pulling your 3 cards for that day and a card falls out of the deck, I would even put that aside and have that be a separate card and then continue to pull your 3 cards. But that card is going to trump any of the other cards. And whenever I'm reading for somebody else, if a card seems to jump out of the deck, I have them take that card and we set that aside and we read that. It's kind of like a highlighted card. This is a very important message that you're supposed to be receiving. And Spirit will do that actually a lot. When somebody needs to get a message, and it's a lot of times not in alignment with the intention that they've set. So Spirit's like, nope, but we've got to get this message across here. So the next card that we have here, I did find my moon card. So we have the star card, we have the moon card, then we have the sun card, right? So we have all of those right next to one another. So the moon card is an interesting card. I've got like this man in the moon. We've got a lobster climbing around out of the water. We've got dogs howling at the moon. all kinds of symbolism there. Some people see the moon as kind of a negative card, but I really never have, because for me, I feel very connected to the moon and I find a lot of peace and calm in the moon. So, and I feel like it's just such a powerful thing. And so for me, like, I just have never connected with that connection with that, like, it can be connected with like something hidden, that kind of stuff, right? Like if you think about darkness, things like that. But I also think about the moon shining its light through the darkness. So for me, that's the symbolism of that, right? So for me, the moon, I connect with like things being brought to light, a light being shown on something that once was dark, right? So maybe somebody doesn't know the answer, or somebody has been dishonest with you, and then suddenly, for your highest and best good, the moon shines a light on it and makes you very aware of what you need to know here, right? So some things will be brought to light. I also think about it like darkness concealing things or not being able to see things clearly until morning, right? So for me, that is connected with your guides and your angels or God or the universe, whatever, like you connect with that, are very hard at work on something for you. And so you might not see the concrete evidence of that right now, but that will be soon brought to light. You will soon have an understanding of how this is being manifested for you. So trust that there's work behind the scenes happening in regard to whatever the intention is, whatever the question is around this. This can also represent nighttime, right? So like things like dreams, nightmares, paying attention to your dreams, intuition coming through dreams. So like, for example, if I were to have the high priestess and the moon card, I would say, what's going on in your dreams? And are you having predictive dreams? Are you having intuitive dreams? Are you like, what is happening? I would have a conversation about that, because there's definitely something important being brought up that's happening at night. And then there also is that the more traditional meaning of that, secrets, something in the dark, something hidden, or a looking within that needs to happen. So that's the moon card. And then when I think about the moon reverse, a lot of times for me with the moon, I don't know why, but I tend to not give it a whole lot of additional meaning when it's reversed, but it might be more like sleeplessness, having trouble sleeping, feeling unhappy, not trusting that there's help available, or that your guides, your angels, the universe, God is helping behind the scenes, feeling low energy, that kind of stuff would be connected with the moon card. And then another one of my favorite cards that we have here is the sun card. I just think it's so adorable. Like, we've got this little baby who is on a white horse, surrounded in a field of sunflowers, and waving this red flag here, or whatever we want to call that. But I always see that as like power, confidence, all the things that I connect with red, all these little flowers around here. Do you have yours, Kelly?
Mhm.
I'm just curious to see yours in that deck. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love that. I knew it was going to be a pretty one. I really like that deck.
Me too. I'm a
Yeah.
little obsessed, but yes,
Yeah,
I do.
it's gorgeous. I really think I'm going to get that one. I don't have that one. And you and Crystal both have it. So pretty. So the sun card is kind of what you might imagine the sun card might be. It's positivity, it's joy, it's happiness, it's being on the right path, it's warmth. If also, if somebody is asking me about a pregnancy or having children, for me, this is another one of those. It's like, yep, kids are coming, or pregnancy is coming, especially if I get that and the Empress together.
Mm.
That would be a sign, because this, we have this child symbol, or something joyful in connection with your child, joy, light, all of those things. So, and all of those things that you would attribute to that, or connecting to your happiness and your power and your confidence, all of the best parts of yourself coming through with the sun. Now, the sun reversed is kind of like similar to the star reversed in that I feel like that person is pretty disconnected from their joy, their happiness, their positivity. Um, and maybe feeling frustrated with things. I tend to see this as like, because when it's upright, it's like if somebody's asking like, will this venture be successful, right? When it's upright, it's a hell yes. It's absolutely, you're on the right path, things are going in the right direction, this is going to bring you a lot of happiness, joy, success, all of those things. Now when it's reversed, I don't take that as like, no, this is not going to be successful, or take another path. It's more like, be patient, because yes, it's coming, but we have to wait for divine timing. We have to allow for divine timing. So that might take longer than what you perceive to be the period of time is best, right? So it might be delayed, it might take longer time. There might be some barriers that are kind of set to happen first before you can get to that. But this really is, for me, like, if you can just stay the course, if you can just continue to like ride the horse that's carrying you in that direction, then it is ultimately going to lead to this sun energy, to this success. But you could certainly, I mean, decide how that connects for you, or intuitively connect when you're reading what that means to you. It might mean, when it's reversed, that this person is feeling depressed, that this person is really struggling a lot. So it really, you'll get a sense of that. You'll get a sense of their energy and where they're at with things. And the cards around it will tell you a lot about it as well. So let's see. So we've got two more cards. So we've got the Judgment card here. So we have the angel above. I always have seen that as Archangel Gabriel, which for me is connected with communication, expression. But this really is like an angel that is helping, that is assisting, that is watching over, that is really bringing in an awakening, like bringing your attention to something, right? He's got a horn with him, getting your attention, shaking things up, bringing with it a renewal. In fact, I think in the angel cards that I have and that Rachel has, it's called renewal. And so this is like, so for example, if somebody has asked about like their family, because we see like we have a little family here, and a lot of the decks have that. So if somebody has asked about their family, this is really like, the angels are here, they're helping your family, they're going to help you to restart, they're going to help with this next phase of things. But it also is like a rebirth, a cleanse of the energy, a shift in that. Know that your angels are helping. It's this can be about making some changes in your life, right? Like the angels are waking you up to where things are at and where you need to make changes, where you need to let go of things, where you need to shift things, and how you need to move forward, what the next step is, and knowing that you have angels there to support you every step of the way. Or it doesn't have to be angels. Like I talk about angels a lot. It can just be the divine, or forces that are there to help you, but knowing that you're being guided, you're being directed. And if you're feeling called to change the course of things, allowing yourself to do that, allowing yourself to shift and change into whatever this is, the next phase of things is. This is the Judgment card is another one that I would say is very representative of what we have going on right now in the world, right? Like there are so many things that are being called into judgment, that are being looked at, that like we're looking at some things from a different perspective. This is like in a lot of ways a rebirth, a renewal. There's a lot of things that are going to be changed through this process. And we really are being shaped in so many ways, but we really are being guided and supported by our higher power as well. This can also be about, like I said, because I connect this with Gabriel, speaking your truth, expressing yourself, communicating with that. Then we have let me just turn my ringer off. When it's reversed, it's, this is oftentimes somebody who's not really moving forward, or not feeling inspired, or not feeling a fresh energy or renewal energy. Like it's like kind of like boredom, stuckness, um, maybe having difficulty committing, having difficulty feeling forces that are there to help and support you, or believing that you have forces there to support you, being afraid to make changes in your life, even if you know that you need to, right? Like how many times do we have an awareness of what it is that we need to do? We intuitively know, but we're too afraid to do it. That can be what the judgment card reverse is representing. Like, you know what you need to do. It's time for you to take action. It's time for you to work through your fears and to move forward with things in the direction that you know that you need to. So I feel like that's really representative of some of the work that we're doing as a collective right now. And then we have the World card. This deck has a lot of naked people. I don't know about you guys, if you guys have a lot of nakedness, but mine does. So whenever I'm like reading for like teenagers and stuff, I don't use this deck because there is so much nakedness. But we have a naked woman here in the middle of, I always see it as like a celebration wreath, that kind of stuff. And she is surrounded by, some animals. She's surrounded by angels. I always feel that as like support, right? That you're surrounded by a lot of support. But to me, this is like your angels, your guides, the universe, like you're being celebrated, and you should celebrate too, because you have successfully done something. You have experienced success. You have come full circle. You have leveled up in some way. You have accomplished something successfully. You have learned a lesson successfully. And so if I pull this card for people, it's like, yeah, like things are going to move forward in a positive way. Things are going to move forward, and you'll be successful with this. In fact, usually that's in the near future. I also take this as like, you have the world, you can have whatever it is that you're calling, that is in your highest and best good, into your experience. This is a really good time to manifest and to focus on those things that you want to have happen in your life. And this is a moving forward. So if somebody's feeling stuck, it is a moving forward for the better, a moving forward and having things happen, having the stuff that you're wanting to have happen, feeling like everything's good and happy and joyful in your little world. So when we have that reversed, since the upright is about like learning lessons, being successful, moving forward, when I see it reversed, it's like there is a lesson that you're supposed to be learning that you haven't learned yet. There is something that you're missing here. And the way that lessons work in life is that when we are trying to like, or when we're in the process of learning a lesson, if we don't learn that, if we don't successfully navigate that, then we're going to relearn it in this life, in another life, whatever. But you can look back on your own life and recognize the themes that have shown up for you and the lessons that have shown up for you, and recognize maybe the lessons that you've learned and the lessons that you're still learning. If something shows up in your life as a theme over and over and over again, it's a lesson that you're still learning. And that would be representative of this card that we have, or represented by this card. This can also be like something being delayed, so like it's coming, but it's going to be delayed, that you will successfully accomplish this, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some energy. This can be something that you're working toward, that you walked away, that you left unfinished, that wasn't taken care of. Or this can also be, somebody who is not ready for something to end. Maybe you know that it's time for something to end. You know that it's time to make this change. You know that it's time to move forward with something, but whether it's out of fear, whether it's out of like just your human part of yourself not quite being ready, you're just not quite ready to move forward with things just yet, or to let go, or to step into this next phase of things. So that's what the world looks like reversed. So those are the major arcana. I'm going to switch on over to my to Wands so that we can get started on that. All right. And I'm really glad to see you guys adding in the other cards. I know that I posted about this in the group, but I really want to be using all of the cards in the deck because you'll notice that your intuitive feelings about these cards are oftentimes very connected with the actual meanings of them. And so the more that we're just connecting with all the cards, the better, because you're already starting to develop these relationships and these understandings of them. And when I point certain things out in the meanings of the card, you're going to go, oh yeah, like I saw that in the card, or yeah, I derived that meaning from that card as well. I want to start with just consideration for the card spreads, because we've started to expand. We've started to do like the 3 card spreads. Let me know how those are going for you guys, how those are working for you guys. But we have been expanding upon these card spreads and learning about them. And so what I want you guys to do is just to start really looking at the way that the cards are working together, because the cards are never or very rarely just on their own, right? The energies are always working together. So how are these energies working together? How are these flowing? And sometimes it's going to be that you're creating actual spreads where it's like, for example, past, present, future, or whatever it is, like whatever you have designated for the different spots. But understanding that these cards are working together as well, and it can be telling you a story. So noticing like what themes am I noticing? So if you were, for example, to pull 3 cards for yourself and you pulled from the whole deck and you happen to pull all major arcana, that's going to tell you something, right? That's going to tell you that you've got some major events going on in your life, some big shifts, some big changes going on. Or let's say out of the entire deck, 2 to 3 of the cards were wands. That's going to tell you that there's something very connected with your work or your life's work or something of that nature that is coming up. Like that's a definite theme. So you're going to want to notice, like, what themes do I notice? When you lay down those cards, especially, this is way easier, by the way, to do this for other people. We talked about this in the group, but you're going to notice that like the cards sort of work together. So they might tell a story, but there also might be themes that just sort of pop out. So like taking a look at the cards and just looking at them for a minute, what themes do I notice? How do the cards work individually, but how do they work together? What is the energy of the cards together? And that's why I've been posting the 3 cards together. So because we're going to be expanding upon that and doing even more cards together. And that can make it more clear, but it's helpful to get practice with the 3 cards and how the energies are working together. So you can take a look at like what stands out. You know, are there cards that have, for example, a lot of red in them, and what does that tell you? Or do you see the same? You know, are there 3 aces that come up, or 3 1 cards, or like just seeing what happens to be the theme here. Or some of the cards, it's really clever the way that spirit will put them on the path. Like you can actually see like the story that is being shown to you. So pay attention to that stuff before you even dive into trying to read each card individually. And I also want to spend a couple of minutes talking about clarifying cards, right? So let's say that you pull 3 cards down and you're looking at it and something just doesn't quite make sense, or you're not totally clear on what this means or what this is, and you want to know more information. You can pull clarifying cards. So you don't have to be limited to just the 3 cards. And so let's say that you pulled something and you have more questions about that. You can pull out another card or another 2 cards, and it's going to give you a better picture of what's going on. So let's say like you're taking a look at what this person has going on presently, and you pull a card that doesn't quite make sense to you, and you pull 2 more cards in that same position to go along with that. It's going to give you more information. It's going to give you a better sense of that. So that's totally okay to do, because sometimes like we just from one card aren't getting quite the sense of that. So you can expand upon that. You can build upon that. Sometimes I end up throwing a whole bunch down because I just feel really pulled to focus on that specific area and what's going on and what the message there is. So follow your intuition with that. That'll show you, that'll help you to know what you need to do there with that. But it's totally okay to pull clarifying cards, and actually quite helpful sometimes to give you more information. Sometimes it seems like if you have a whole bunch of cards, it's harder to interpret, but when you're focusing on it in that way and you're throwing them down in a position, it really can give you more information and just help you to know. You trying to figure out what I meant on this handout when I wrote this. I'm not sure. I'm going to come back to that because I don't remember what I meant, and I know that it's going to come through as we're flowing. So we will see. Oh, I know what I meant. Okay, so 2 separate intentions. So you may find that your intentions could be different than what will actually come through, and that will become clear. So let's say, for example, that you are asking about a relationship, right? And you pull a whole lot of wands cards. That's either going to tell you that this relationship is work, right? Because I always connect wands with work in some way, with that word work. We're going to talk about that more, but or it's not answering the question that you're asking. So sometimes you're just going to get a sense of like the spirit is answering a different question than you've asked. So you can pull some clarifying cards to like try to understand that, but you might have a different intention than spirit has for you. And I always say, like, if that happens, like, we go with whatever is coming through and what feels like is being answered here. That's why I really like that question again of what do I need to know, because it just opens it up and it allows for that. So we're going to talk about wands today. So wands are connected with the element of fire. Okay, so if you know your zodiac, it's going to be connected with the zodiac signs that are connected with fire. So Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, right? So these can all represent, the more meanings that you connect with this, the better, because these can all be representative of an Aries, a Leo, or a Sagittarius. I tend to not like have that be connected a whole lot with my with the meanings of my cards, but for some of you, you're really going to pull from that, especially if you know a lot about astrology and things like that. You really are going to pull from that knowledge base and connect with that. So you might, if you have a lot of wands showing up, it might represent a Leo in somebody's life or something like that. Especially when we move into like the pages, the knights, the kings and queens, those oftentimes are representative of people. So they're not always, but you might find if you're getting those, they're more representative of people. So that's more when I'm thinking, it's somebody who is connected with a fire sign. I really like when I learned this, I learned 4 words, a word connected with each suit for the cards. So that was how I learned that. So for me, work and life's work is very strongly connected with wands. So they use that very much. Like they know, like when they want to talk about somebody's work or their life's work or their life's purpose, that kind of stuff, that they're going to put wands on my path for me to talk about that. But it also is very connected with the spirit, or it's very physical, right? It can be connected with the physical body. So if we're talking about, for example, like health or something like that, that might fall into the realm of wands. It's when you think about it, like it's like masculine energy. I mean, wands are can be very phallic, whereas like cups are going to be the feminine energy. Okay, so it can be connected more with masculine energy, although it doesn't have to be. So this will come up with like when there are issues with health, when there are issues with sexuality, but oftentimes when there's something going on with work, career, life's work, life purpose, that kind of stuff overall as a theme. I'm going to just talk about, because I wasn't quite sure where to put it because we're breaking this down, but talking a little bit about like aces and numbers and the kings and queens and knights and all of that. So I think before we dive into that, I'm going to go through all of that stuff. So the aces. are, I always see the aces as both a beginning and an end, the beginning and an end, right? So it's like the beginning and it's mastery of something. So oftentimes when I'm pulling for, so here I have the ace of wands, that to me is like a mastery of something. I just always see that as such a positive, powerful card. So aces can also be the beginning of something, right? So it's the beginning and a mastery of something. And so it might be for example, an ace of wands can be a new job, or for me, it's oftentimes not a new job in terms of like shifting to something that would be a similar job. It would be a leveling up in a job, but a fresh start, a new beginning there with that, right? It can be the beginning of something. It can be a spark. It can be like, I tend to see the aces honestly though more as mastery, because just the way that they are represented, like this just seems and feels very powerful, as you can see from the images. So the aces, but we're going to go through each of the cards. So you'll see how that plays out with the cards. And then the numbers. So for those of you that are very connected with numbers, again, these numbers are going to mean a lot. I don't connect a ton with the numbers. I connect a lot with angel numbers, but not necessarily the numbers on the cards. But for those of you that does mean a lot to, you're going to want to notice the numbers and connect with the numbers. It gives you another symbol to use through this. So across the board, whether it's wands, pentacles, swords, whatever, cups, these numbers mean similar things, right? So twos, I always think of as a partnership, a couple, two people together, a, a coming together, that kind of thing, right? A merging of things. For three, I tend to think of that as like building upon that too, right? It's an expansion, it's developing, it's like kind of at the beginning still of numbers, but you're building upon it, right? And then four for me is about a structure, right? Like I always think about with the four, like a table, right? You have to have four legs to the table and to create a solid foundation. So for me, it's about like a solid foundation. It's about a structure. It's about creating a foundation upon which you're going to be building. So it's like, so if I were to use these numbers in relation to a business, like the three would be, okay, you're working on developing. And then four is like that year where you're kind of like breaking even and you're starting to create a lot of things that create a lot of stability around the business and create a lot of solid, important things that you're going to be building upon and growing upon later on. The fives are about like taking it to the next level. It's a breaking through. It's like going past just breaking even, that stability. It's going out of your comfort zone. It's a moving forward. So this is really powerful. The sixes are just very much like being in harmony, being in balance, right? It's a things are really clicking into place. So like if we think about the numbers, like we're building upon each and every number, there's a progression here with that. The sevens are connected with just magic. Like sevens have always felt really magical to me, or really special to me, right? And they are like, they're connected with magic and intuition, and it's just to me a very positive energy. The eights, I always think about infinity, and I always think about like abundance in connection with the number 8 when it shows up overall. But this can be sometimes about like having to like overcome limitations. Maybe there have been limitations that have happened and you're working around them, you're overcoming them. You are, again, this is kind of a structure, a foundation, but it's like that next level of foundation. It's like building the next floor of something, maybe with that energy. The nines are getting close toward an ending, right? So this can sometimes, you might get a lot of nines when like there's an ending, the end of one thing, the beginning of something new. We're getting closer to that. We're working toward that. It can be just like a vision, a self-reflection, this kind of stuff. And you guys see, like, to me, I have to like even look at this handout because like to me, just I don't connect as much with the numbers, but you might find that these really connect for you. And then the tens are about that completion, are about finishing something up. Okay. And then we move back. It all is cyclical. It all works together. It all is moving on. And then we start the process again. So with the pages, knights, kings, and queens, like I said, these are oftentimes representative of people. So especially if you are asking about somebody, chances are that king, queen, page, knight, or whatever is representative of a person. So they each have in the different suits like their own energy. So you'll see that and you'll learn that. But they tend to connect with people, but not always. You'll see as we're learning the cards that there are other meanings as well. The pages tend to be connected with children or like teenagers. Okay, so someone young, somebody where there's like a certain level of immaturity, not in a bad way, like there's like an innocence with it, right? Or something new, something young. So if it's not connected to a person, something new coming in, a new, fresh energy coming in. The knights tend to be connected with like they tend to be connected with like an older, so pages tend to be connected with boys and girls. Knights tend to represent mostly younger males. I don't know. I want to know where like the female knights are because that really isn't represented as much in it's more represented in the different individual cards. Like you'll see like the page of wands, like there's a lot of cards that have female energy on them, but I don't like that we have knights and we don't have whatever the equivalent like ladies or whatever would be. But so knights are oftentimes connected with male energy. They're oftentimes connected with, if you think about that energy that is, you know, a male who is in his earlier 20s, you know, that's a different energy than oftentimes than a man who is a little bit more matured and has learned some life lessons and has grown a little bit. So it's a youthful energy, but it's not a childlike energy. It oftentimes the nights I connect with like momentum and rapid movement as well. I think about like nights being like, or that age group being like, they tend to live a faster life and move faster. And, you know, there can be a level of like hastiness or cockiness with that as well. So for the queens, apparently we go right from pages to queens. But so for the queens, it's about, you know, a female, a woman, a mature woman, feminine energy, female energy. I do tend to see this more representing different age groups because we don't have that knight type card for the women. And oftentimes when I'm pulling a queen, this is just a woman who is like has figured it out, has mastered that particular area. And we'll talk about the individual cards, but there's some level of like she's mastering it if it's upright, or she really has stepped into her power in that particular area of her life. Like for example with the Queen of Pentacles, like she really like she's got her money right, or she's found a stability, like she's got that earthy energy. She is maybe an entrepreneur who is like she is a boss, right, where she's like really building something really powerful. She is on her throne, she is connected to her power, and she is using her power in a kind, loving way. You know, when we have a king and a queen upright, this is somebody who is connected to their power, but they are doing it in a way that honors other people. It's not about like power over, it's about leadership, real, true leadership. And then when we have kings, that can represent more of like a developed like father energy, somebody a more mature man, or somebody who has learned a lot of those life lessons and has learned from them and grown from them. If you're pulling, for example, a knight card for a man who is supposed to be older, that's going to tell you a lot, right? That's going to tell you a lot about his mental age and his development in that way, and where he's maybe stuck with things. So kings tend to be powerful leaders, and they really have like grown through their hardships and developed a lot of powerful lessons. That's really connected with the queens as well. So let's dive into the wands. And Kelly, feel free to jump in, because since it's just you and me today, jump in with questions too. Like if anything comes up, like don't feel like that's interrupting or anything like that if anything comes up. Because I'm sure other people will have those questions too. So we're going to start the Minor Arcana. We're going to start with the wands first. So again, we have, and I've held this up for you guys, but the Ace of Wands. Okay, so I always see this as like kind of God's hand coming out of the clouds, right? With this wand. There is something really magical happening here in regard to work, in regards to your life's work, in regard to you living your life purpose or your health. Something like God is assisting, or you have really mastered that. Like God is like, I always see it as God kind of like passing the baton on to you. You've really done a lot of good work. You have mastered this in so many ways. This is transformation. This is you starting a new venture, this is you really finding mastery in your job, in your work. A lot of times this will come through when there is going to be a really important promotion, or when you really have learned a lot of the skills that you need to learn, or when you're living a really purposeful life. Maybe like you've just made a shift and now you are living your most purposeful life, because our work isn't always what we get paid for. So that's when I say your life's work. Sometimes we have life's work that we don't get paid for, but it really is like more important in our life. So I see that in the Ace of Wands. Now, if we're looking at this as the beginning of the deck, then it's about creation. There's something new being sparked within work. I tend to see that as more of like the Page of Wands, but something new. You're being creative. There are new creative ideas coming in. There's a new beginning coming in, especially in regard to work. So it can also be that too. It's like being handed a beautiful opportunities coming through. So that is the Ace of Wands. Sometimes like I want to point this out, because a lot of times so we have this castle in the background. So sometimes I will see that as like changing jobs, changing careers, moving into like a better workplace, a more comfortable work environment, that kind of stuff. So if my eyes get pulled to the castle, I will interpret it in that way. Now, the next card that we have, when that's reversed, so that's like, maybe there's some kind of a delay. There's maybe you are feeling upset, feeling frustrated about something not moving forward, not happening quite yet. Again, I tend to see this as more of a delay than it not happening, and there's just something that's preventing that from happening. Some kind of a delay, divine timing, whatever that is, some lessons that need to be learned in order for this energy to move forward. So the Two of Wands, I always see this. So we oftentimes will have a man standing here holding the earth in his hands, right? And he's got a flag. And there are, I always like, so he's standing just looking really powerful, right? Looking out over the water, but he's got the world in his hands. And so like, to me, there's like like he sees things from a higher perspective. He sees things from a better perspective. He's looking at things from a different perspective. He's, like he's looking at the world in a different way. So that's a really strong meaning for me with that. But because we have this too, this is oftentimes connected with like a new contract. Like he's waiting for his ship to come in, and his ship is coming in, right? Like something new is coming here with this. Something great is coming here with this. And he might be connecting with somebody new through work that's going to bring with it new opportunity. There might be a new contract coming in. He might be exploring a relationship that's going to lead to a lot of success in his life, but something like this guy really has the world in his hands, and there's a lot of great things that are coming with it. The next card that we have here is the Three of Wands, and it's like we have somebody looking out over the water, right? And kind of waiting for these ships to come in. There are some good things coming in with that. Oh, I keep forgetting to do the reverse. I'm sorry. So with the Two of Wands reverse, this is about like, this can be the end of a contract, a shift in a contract, the ending of a partnership, a stepping away from something in connection with work, that kind of stuff. And this can be the beginning of a new partnership, or like, so if somebody's asking like, should I, start this new business venture with this other person, and I get this up, right? I would say absolutely yes. Or if somebody's asking, should I start this business venture, and I pull this, I might say yes, but be open to the possibility that you might want to bring somebody else in, or there might be somebody else who comes in that's going to help and support you on this journey. So we have that there. And then, so with the Three of Wands, we have this guy standing here with the Three of Wands. We have the three ships that are coming in with the cards. And to me, this is like about his ships coming in, like that, like you're a powerful manifester. And I imagine him like standing on the edge of that water, imagining that amazing things are coming his way. And then the ships are bringing things his way. He's like shrouded in this red, which again, for me is like, he's in his power. So especially like success in work, success in business, a building upon something in business with this three, manifesting dreams into reality. This is really coming with this Three of Wands. Like he's got a lot of power here. He's got some options here to focus on. Then we have, I really like this card. Oh, and the Three of Wands reversed. I'm sorry. So again, this might be a delay. This might be sometimes like for me with this, like it's like he wants his ship to come in, but he's not willing to do what he needs to do to get it. Right? He's not willing to take that inspired action. He's not willing to do what he needs to do. And so like he's really expecting a free ride in a lot of ways, or expecting the universe to do all of the work. And so what I would say is like, yes, the universe will do a lot of the work for you, but you need to take inspired action as you feel called to. You need to like create a momentum here in order for this to manifest with it. This can also be like a need to just like not have your head really in the clouds. Like, again, yes, set intentions, yes, manifest, but also taking action. It's a balance here, and there's a need for both here in this. So focus on the vision, but also taking the action. Having a clear understanding of what your role is and what your job is here on Earth. Working, being a co-creator, right? So that's the vision, but it's also taking action. So then we have the Four of Wands. I really like this. There's just a really nice vibe to it, right? Like we've got these women and they're decorating with flowers, and they have harvested a lot of flowers, and usually there's some kind of like a pumpkin or something representing harvest, grapes, flowers. They appear to be celebrating something. So I see, like a celebration of like a something foundational in your life. Maybe it's like a new home, or like just it can represent, like, to me, like a celebration, a party of some kind in some way, a harvest, like good things coming in, kind of like feeling like I said, in business, or in work, like it's like things finally feel like they're breaking even, and we're celebrating that, like we've gotten to an important level, an important foundation for what we're going to be building upon, and we're celebrating it. Um we're feeling that harvest come in, that maybe that first harvest really coming in. We've manifested, we've done the work, right? Like in the Three of Wands, and now that harvest is coming in. And so we are celebrating it. Sometimes for me, like I see that as um like a wedding or a celebration too, a little bit, but not always. It just depends on the cards that I see it with. But you have done something that is leading to prosperity, and just like being able to enjoy the fruits of your labor for a little while before you keep working and building upon it, right? Because this is not like, oh, you've succeeded and you should stop here. This is like you've achieved that next level, keep going, but celebrate the fruits of your success right now. When we have Four of Wands reversed, um, I tend to not like see this as a bad thing. Yeah, or as like the opposite of that. To me, again, this is just about like a lot of the things that I would connect with it upright: prosperity, happiness, joy, um, uh, like success coming in, and just a celebration, because I just feel such a good vibe from this card. So I think that's why I tend to not really see that in a more negative light, even when it's reversed. I just see it as coming in. I might see it as coming in a little bit slower, but I don't know. I always tend to see this as a celebration of where you're at with things at that particular time. I see it as a really positive card across the board. So let's see. So the next card that we have here is the Five of Wands. Okay. So this one is an interesting card for me. You can kind of see like there's a lot going on here with this group of people, right? So we have all these people, and they all have their wands, and they are really battling here. And we have this person in the background. This is always like this guy in the blue is like always who I kind of focus on, who's like got his wand up, and he's really preventing himself from maybe being hit by these wands. That's kind of the story that I tell myself there with that, right? Like, so he's defending himself, like, so it's not really the best vibe. And so if we're considering this to be like a work issue, this might be the Five of Wands might show up when it's a situation where somebody feels like they're being ganged up on, whether that's in work or in life. They're feeling ganged up on, they're feeling overwhelmed at people coming at them in some way, or it can be they're feeling overwhelmed by work coming at them, but it tends to be more interpersonal. I find like there's the conflict, arguments, that kind of stuff. Or maybe they're like trying to create something new. Maybe they have a new idea at work, and other people are just not being really open to it just yet, or there's a power struggle in some way. So you can get a feel for it. But I also see that this guy in the back, in my card anyway, like he's very uh he's dealing with like these four other people coming at him, but he's successfully keeping them off, right? He's successfully preventing them from throwing him off his balance. Okay, so I want you to think that. So yes, there is struggle. Yes, there's conflict. Yes, there is maybe a power struggle, but they're not necessarily letting it get them down when it's upright. Like it might be a challenge, it might be difficult, but it's kind of the message of like, keep going, believe in yourself, speak your truth, keep honoring that, and just keep going. Um, because ultimately, like whatever it is that you're sharing, whatever it is that's important to you here is going to be honored, and you just have to stand strong in that, stand strong in your truth, and not let all of these comments from the peanut gallery get to you, or all of like these people that are coming at you get to you, because eventually you're going to be able to like just release that energy. Now, when that's reversed, I might say like, oh, you kind of feel like you're losing the battle a little bit, right? Like you feel overpowered. And this is a reminder of reconnecting with your strength and just allowing yourself to remember to stand strong in your truth and to stand strong in what feels best and right to you. This can also be about like an internal conflict when it's reversed, right? So like it's a battle going on within yourself, different parts of yourself battling against different parts. How many of us like have that experience of like we've got all these different parts within ourselves, right, that are battling. So you can think of a situation in your life, or probably even today, where parts of yourself have battled with one another. So we have that. So that oftentimes is representative of that for me. Sometimes it's about like litigation, court battles, like but I tend to not have that. I tend to have the justice card show up with that more so. But if it comes with the justice card, it might be more connected with that. Or like maybe a lot of anger, maybe a lot of internal battles going on that are resulting in anger, or getting anger from the outside sometimes too, and really struggling with the energy that's either coming from within or from outside of yourself. So you've got to get a feel for that when you're reading the card. The Six of Wands. The Six of Wands, pretty consistently in most decks anyway that I have seen, looks like a victory. So mine has this guy who's coming back, who's just really being celebrated. He's like, there are these people, sometimes I've seen it where there's tons of people around where it looks like a parade, right? But this guy's got some people showing up for him to celebrate. And I always see it as like he's coming back from battle and he's being celebrated. So it's very much that energy. It is a victory, and it was a difficult battle, but it has been won, and there's some kind of a celebration. So it might be just a celebration for that person is celebrating themselves, or it can be people celebrating around you, people celebrating you, people being excited for you. So again, you have to get a feel for that, but like a difficult battle that has been won, maybe a difficult battle in connection with work, although I don't always connect it with work. You know, where has something felt like a lot of work in your life? Where has something felt like a battle that you have successfully won? So if somebody comes in and they're really struggling with something and I pull this card, it's like, you're going to be successful with this battle. It might feel like a battle, but you're going to be successful, and victory is ultimately yours. So hang in there. Good news is on its way. You're going to be successful. Now, when this is reversed, either this is like, it's going to be a long, challenging battle, right? Or success has not quite yet been achieved yet. Or, like maybe there is like an enemy at the gate. So like what I mean by that is like maybe there is somebody in your life that doesn't want to celebrate you, that doesn't want you to be victorious, that is creating challenge and conflict. Whenever this is reversed, like to me, there's a lot going on. There's a real war. There's a real battle going on. And this person is struggling, whether it's within themselves or oftentimes it's outside of themselves, with that feeling like they aren't being successful, feeling like they can't move forward, feeling like there's no recognition for them, feeling like they haven't they're not receiving like the celebration of that, or that they're not able to move forward, that they aren't, or they're not able to decide. Maybe they're feeling indecisive about what's next for them. They're feeling really stuck. So like, for example, this card might show up when a person is feeling like, God, I'm like working my ass off at this situation and nobody sees it. Nobody's acknowledging it. Nobody is honoring that. And so oftentimes I will acknowledge that for that person, because, it really is like spirit saying, listen, you're working really hard on this and we see you. So it can be that energy, but I really like when that shows up, because it usually means, even if it's reversed, that victory is coming. It just is going to take more time, and it's like you're in the middle of the battle, and the battle hasn't been won yet. So like I've seen this show up when I've had people come in next to the justice card, when there's like a long court battle, like a custody battle or something like that. It'll show up where it's like just years of battling and stress and all of these things. So it can represent somebody who's been going through it for quite some time. So the Seven of Wands is, so we have, again, this like feels kind of like a battle, right? But this is a little bit of a different energy. So comparatively to the Five of Wands, like we have in this one, we have all the people standing around, right? And really coming at him and really coming at him close. In this one, like you don't see the people as much. So it might not be as in their face. It might not be as aggressive, right? And this guy doesn't look like he's not like trying to hold them off. He really is being successful at, even though there's stuff coming at him, he's being successful. He is standing his ground and on some level preventing himself from having those wands come at him. They're directed at him, but they're not coming at him. So this really is like a strengthened. So for example, if I were to see the Five of Wands and then the Seven of Wands coming up, I might see growth here. And this is what I mean when I'm saying, look at the progression of a story. I might see growth. This is like, this guy finally got tired of the bullshit that was going on here. And he was like, enough, back the fuck off. Right. And like got to a whole new level with things. So it's like a standing up for yourself. It can feel like you against the world, but it's like me against the world, but I'm finally just done with it. And I'm ready to like say enough is enough. I'm done. I'm done with the struggle. I'm done. I'm done with all of it. And I have faith that things are going to go in my direction. So it's really a progression into that energy. It's like, have you ever had those moments in your life where like stuff is coming at you and you go through like the doubts and the questioning and all of that. And you get to a point where you're like, you know what? No, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what my soul knows. And I'm just done with all the bullshit. Here I am. This is me. This is my truth. Take it as it is, because I'm going to stand strong in this. And that really is the Seven of Wands energy. When it's reversed, it can really be like a feeling of insecurity, a feeling like you can't keep those wands off of you. You can't keep those people off you. You can't keep the energy of that coming at you. You're not feeling like you have the strength to do that. You're not feeling like believing in yourself enough to do it. You don't have that faith. You might feel pushed back by these people who have just like pushed at you and poked at you and pushed and pushed and pushed. And so like kind of like it's kind of instead of like standing strong with this, it's like being backed into a corner by all of this energy and just like having enough with that. And it really is a reminder, like it's time for you to stand strong in who you are and what you know is true for you and find that strength. It's time for you to stand up to whatever this energy is that continues to come after you. So that's like that Seven of Wands reversed. The Eight of Wands. So oftentimes it's some version of maybe wands floating in the air, right? So I tend to see this as like a lot of stuff coming your way at once. So it's funny because I see sometimes the Eight of Wands representing like that physical, like that sexual energy or that masculine energy. Sometimes like if somebody's asking me about a relationship or about dating or something like that, if I get the Seven of Wands, sometimes that's like, you're going to have a lot of options coming your way, right? A lot of interest coming your way, especially if it's like a female, right? A lot of like options coming to the table. Now, I always see this as like some of these wands are plain, some of them have some little leaves, and then some of them have flowers, some options, some opportunities that are coming your way are better than others, right? But they're all being sent your way for you to choose, right? Like they're up in the clouds, they're being sent your way for you to choose. Some options are going to be better than others, but you're going to have a lot of options very quickly. So there's a moving forward, there's a quick movement with it. There's a lot of action going on. There's a lot of changes or career options showing up for you. It might be just like an increase in social life or an increase in dating. Like I said, just a lot of options coming your way, and it's going to be up to you to choose, and you're going to want to listen to your intuition and make the best decisions for you. Like if we think about this in terms of like men showing up to date, some of these options are going to be a better connection than others. So really feel that out, really listen to your soul in regard to that. But this is definitely like a feeling like a lot is coming your way, but usually in a good way. The only overwhelmment will come through trying to choose, trying to make a choice that's going to be best. When it's reversed, you might feel like you have some options slowly kind of arriving into your experience, slowly showing up for you. It might feel like there's some delays, but they will, the opportunities will arrive. It's just a slower energy. It can be like even a change in like travel or canceled travel plans, because it's like this is a slow energy. This is a delayed energy. This is slowing things down. This is also about taking your time to make a decision, right? You might not make a decision right away because you can't choose, or you're struggling to choose, or you're struggling to feel it out. So I sometimes will interpret this like, okay, take your time to feel things out and to figure out what is going to be the absolute best option for you. And again, there's a similar card in the cups family that I tend to have, like some choices are better than others. This tends to be connected with work related options or tasks for you to do or things for you to spend your time and energy on. But sometimes, again, it is connected with relationships, things like that. So choices. Then we have the 9 of Wands, right? This is a cheerful card, right? This guy looks like he has been through it. So this is like the guy like who has defended himself against a lot, right? And it has, there are some very clear battle wounds here that he has received. But what's interesting is you see these wands are now behind him. So if we're telling the story of like the wands and like, so we had the people battling and then we had the guy holding himself off, but the wands are still coming at him. And then we have this where this guy has been through it, but he owns all of these wands, right? So like, that's the story that I tell myself, is like, there is like a persistence, there is a resiliency that comes with it. This is somebody who has fought with every ounce of their being to have what they knew was right for them. And yes, there might be some battle wounds, but they did it and they were successful. And so this is about celebrating that. This is acknowledging everything that they've been through. This is a little bit of that coming back from battle victorious energy as well. Continuing to stand strong in that. You're really close to victory if you haven't already experienced victory. So like, and again, it's like an acknowledging though of the emotional or the challenging impact of that. Maybe somebody has worked really, really hard for something for a very long time. They've had a lot of just tests in terms of their faith, in terms of waiting for the timing, and it's finally here, or it's finally arriving in the very near future. So that's the 9 of Wands. And then the 9 of Wands reversed is just feeling like you haven't quite gotten there yet. Like there's been obstacles, like the timing hasn't quite happened yet. Feeling overworked, feeling the impact really strongly of these wounds that this person has gone through. doubting your strength. This oftentimes will be like a person who's just been through so much and they have persevered through so much and they're just really tired. And so sometimes just even acknowledging that and encouraging them to remember how strong they are and how far they've already come and that they're really, really close. Because usually this is like you're really close. It hasn't actually happened for you yet. But man, have you like kept the faith? Man, have you pushed through some serious stuff to get here? 10 of Wands. So here we have the 10 of Wands. We have very often it'll be a person who is attempting to carry all of these wands, and it looks a little awkward, right? But he actually like has them kind of nicely organized. He is successfully carrying them, but I always see it as like he's carrying them. And this is like what I look like when I'm trying to like come in from the grocery store. I don't take 2 trips, right? So like I'm trying to carry it all in and awkwardly stumble my way into the house. And I always see it as kind of like this, like he's not taking 2 trips. He is like doing it all, but he is barely hanging on. It is like at any given moment, his arms are going to give out and he's going to let go. So this is kind of like, if we're going to see the wands as work or challenges or whatever, he is a little bit overworked. He is working really hard. And yes, he has it together, but he's right on the brink of not having it together, right? So he might feel like the weight of carrying all this work, of doing all this work. This is my workaholic card, right? Like there's like an organization and a structure to it, but like at any given moment, he could drop it all. So this really is about like finding balance and making sure that you're finding balance with your work, that you're not working too hard, that you're right on that brink. And the littlest thing can kind of push somebody over the edge with this. It can also be just acknowledging how hard they've been working and how much energy they've been putting into it and how they have been keeping it all together, how they have been successful, but just making sure that they're being careful with that. And especially if that's reversed, it's like you've taken on too much and you've dropped it, right? You've dropped all the ones and it's a mess, and it's going to be really hard to like get them back in your arms and to be able to carry them again. So just, making sure that you're taking your time before taking on all of those wands, and maybe considering leaving some of the wands behind, maybe not carrying them all the way back to your house, right? So I always see it as that. I'm curious about you guys, that usually this is a pretty common theme, is like somebody trying to carry a bunch in some way, shape, or form. What does yours look like, Kelly? Okay. Yep. So see, we still have that theme of the bull trying to carry too much, right? Like he's really overpacked and he's successfully navigating that, but he's just come over a mountain. Really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the wands are actually in her suitcase.
Oh, okay. I can't see that,
They're,
but okay.
they're like they're sticking out.
Okay. Okay. All right. So again, that's like awkward, right? Like not
Yeah.
how I personally would choose to carry that. So she's carrying it, but she could drop them at any moment. They could fall out at any moment. So like just really
Yeah.
strategizing.
This card definitely, like, for me, when I originally went through the deck and I saw this card, it looked pretty down and depressing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like this guy doesn't look like he's like totally joyful. Like he needs to have a little bit more fun. He needs to drop some of these ones and like get back to enjoying life, right? He's working too hard. He's carrying too much. I'll pull this a lot actually for like busy moms and stuff, like who are just trying to do too much with work at home and all of that stuff, right? Or sometimes busy dads too, like depending. But yeah, like you're just working too hard at work, at home, or whatever. You're carrying too much. Let's see. So the next one, and we're close to our time, but I think we should be able to make it through. I'd like to try to make it through all of these. So we have the Page of Wands upright. Page of Wands, like again, for me, this is oftentimes connected with a new energy. So for me, I often see it as like a new work opportunity coming in, although some people connect that more with like the Ace of Wands or something like that, but like a newer energy. This can be connected with a child or a teenager. as I said, like with that youthful energy, new ideas coming in, a surge in energy. Like when we think about that childlike energy, this can be if there were a card to represent my twin boys, it would be the Page of Wands, because like they have a lot of energy, right? Like they're just like bouncing off the walls always. Like that kind of is this energy. And that, so that can be representative. If it's representative of a person, like this person can be like kind of like hyperactive or very energetic with that. So it might not represent somebody who's young, but who has like that youthful, energetic energy. When that is reversed, it might be the prevention of something new coming in, like a setback or I will tend to connect with the Page of Wands, like a message being delivered in some way, bad news being delivered in some way. And usually it's like not delivered. It's either delivered by, it's either news that you don't like or something that's delivered by a person that you don't like, or it's delivered in a way that you don't like. But it also is a message of don't discount the message, right? Don't ignore the message. The message is still important. You've just got to work past your initial response to it. Just because you don't like it or don't like them or don't like the way it was delivered doesn't mean that it's not a message that you're meant to like, that it doesn't mean that it's not a message you're meant to receive. So let's see, Knight of Wands. So like I said, knights are, I always think of charging, right, with knights. So like knights are always a rapid moving energy, a powerful energy. So if somebody's asking about something in work or connected to their life's work or their purpose is going to move forward rapidly. There's going to be a powerful momentum happening. This is also in connection with people, you know, like a younger man. This can be when it's upright. He can be very charming. I always see like knight in shining armor, you know, with this, like, so somebody who's really charming, who kind of like comes in quickly. This can be a new romantic partner. This can be a new business partner coming in that just has like exactly what it is that you're needing. They can, because wands can be connected with creativity. You'll see that theme. Like, so it might be somebody bringing in like a new creative idea, whether it's your own or somebody coming in with that. Like the wands though, is because it's a very physical energy, it can be like somebody who has a lot of energy. It's still like they still have that youthful energy. So they might be easily distracted. They might be hyperactive, that kind of energy, have trouble with follow through because they're easily distracted. But usually this is like a movement, a rapid movement in some way, or if it's representing a person, it would be some of those qualities. This can be, I'm not talking a lot about health with this, but this can be, if we're looking at a health issue, a rapid shift in health in a positive direction. Like maybe you're not feeling well or you're struggling with a situation, and then almost miraculously overnight, there's an improvement, a change, a shift with that. Now, when we have a Knight of Wands reverse, this is definitely not somebody that I would trust, right? This is somebody who like, think about charisma, but charisma in a negative way, right? Like they can say exactly what needs to be said. They can do exactly what needs to be done in order to convince you, but they aren't authentically that person. They don't, you know, they can be a bit of a con artist or sell you something that isn't really what you're going to receive, or, you know, they can talk their way around anything, but it's not a positive energy, a positive connection for you to have. So if somebody's asking me about a person that have just started dating, and I have this show up, it's usually like, like, I don't know that I would fully trust this. I don't know that I fully trust that what is being said here, or what you are being shown, is authentically who this person is. They might seem really charming up front, but not so for the long term. And then we have this Queen of Wands upright energy. So the Queen of Wands, you know, I always think like wands, like oftentimes they have a lot of energy, right? So she's somebody maybe who has also a lot of energy. She's very exuberant. She's very passionate. She might be very, have a lot of, because if we're thinking of this as more of a masculine energy overall, she might have a lot of masculine, just independent energy, more of a masculine type energy to her. Somebody who's really inspirational. There's now, this is like, if you look, she has like the sun around her and the orange and the red and all of that. Like, I also see her as like very warm. So she's independent, but she's very warm also. Like, there's a nice balance there with that. This can represent somebody who, like, so if they're asking, will I be successful with this new job that I'm going to take? This would be like her being successful, her assuming a position of leadership or a position of power in a successful way. She also has a really great sense of humor with things. A lot of strength with her. Like, we see like the lions in the background. Oftentimes, like, her throne looks pretty similar. There's almost always like this sunflower energy, this warm energy with the sun, that kind of stuff. Fire. I mean, it's fire energy. Yeah, like, she looks fantastic. I would want to hang out with the Queen of Wands, right? In your card too. Yeah. So I really like the Queen of Wands energy. And then we have the King of Wands. So again, like, we have the lion, right, representing kind of that fiery Leo energy. This is somebody who's just kind
Christy,
of, uh-huh.
I was going to ask you real quick on the Queen of Wands. I noticed on yours and on mine. I think on yours. I think I saw on yours too. There was a black cat. Is that? Do you have a cat on your? Is there anything significant about that?
I think, like, to me, like, the cat represents independence, right? Because I always think about like how cats just have that natural independence to them.
Yes.
And I do think about that energy when especially if I get pulled to the energy of it. I think about how cats, like, sometimes can be so warm and loving, and then sometimes they're like, give me my space. Right. And they're both. And I always have thought that's really cool.
I am.
That's right. And so I do, that's very representative of that Queen of Wands energy. Oh, and I didn't do reverse with that. So, with the Queen of Wands reverse, like, that she's maybe not, having those two qualities be as nicely merged. So you might see a lot of mood swings with her, like a kind of a drama queen kind of energy, a jealous energy. This can sometimes be connected with like infidelity and things like that as well. I don't tend to connect it with that, but some people do, in the traditional meaning. She can be kind of angry and just mood swings and all over the place, right? So like that fiery energy when it's in its shadow, really, when the Queen of, or sometimes I'll see it like as, you aren't quite there yet in terms of like the level of success that you're wanting to achieve, if it's representing the person that's sitting there in front of me, and you still have some work to do and some development to do, but you'll get there. And then we have the King of Wands. So it's a similar kind of orange, yellow, red, fiery energy, the lion energy, sitting there on his throne. Mine are all on their throne. Very traditional with the traditional tarot of being on their throne. But like, he's just like a really honest guy, a hardworking guy, a guy who's really successful in his work, a natural leader. Again, a sense of humor I find comes with that wands, because it can be just like that energy that comes with that. So somebody who can be both serious but also have a really nice sense of humor with a passionate, fiery energy. And then the King of Wands reverse, like, that sometimes is because wands are such a physical card. Sometimes I'm concerned about maybe physical violence, like this person might be very controlling or violent, or very impulsive, not thinking things through necessarily. But it's not always that. Sometimes it's just like somebody who hasn't connected necessarily with their power just yet, with their strength just yet, with their confidence just yet, or they're not quite ready to lead just yet. They have some things that they need to learn, or they're not quite ready for that promotion at work just yet, because they have still some growth and development to have happen. So that is the King of Wands. So those are wands. So I'm going to be posting practice stuff throughout the rest of this week for us to keep practicing. I'll be posting things about wands. I'm going to be mixing some things in. Feel free to keep posting your daily polls or polls as you feel called to share them. You don't have to post them daily, but whatever you want to share so that everybody can jump in and practice and can see what you're pulling and can offer maybe some interpretations that they're having so we can practice. I'll be posting practice stuff. So you don't just have to pull from the wands, like just pull from the whole deck and see where that's working. But also I'm going to be posting some exercises so we can connect a little bit more just with this wands energy as well, and seeing the cards interact with one another. So I'll be posting that. Go through your deck and look at your wands cards and see, you probably were doing that while we were going through the class, like how your cards correspond with mine and where you're seeing those things, but see what meanings stand out to you and what meanings you connect with, because ultimately every deck is going to be a little bit different, and every person is going to connect different things with the different meanings. So, make this your own as well. Like, as you see, like I had a lot of like the really traditional meanings on the handouts, but I have my own meanings that I've just developed and established over time as well, that I like to share with that and talk about what story is this card telling me right here. So thank you so much for being here, Kelly. Thank you guys for watching on the replay, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, see you next week. Bye.